make it tonight. Okay, so welcome everybody. Welcome. My name is Peggy Kurtz, and I'm the leader of Rockland Sierra Club. This is a monthly meeting of the Lower Hudson Group, which includes the Rockland branch, but also Westchester, Putnam, Southern Orange County, and Dutchess. And this is our monthly meeting. We meet monthly online. I would say we focus mostly on state and local action on the climate crisis, but also on water issues, on toxic PFAS chemicals, and on other local issues as they come up. We try to focus our meetings on informing ourselves, but also on taking action. And this meeting is co-sponsored by the Rockland Audubon Society and Rockland Astronomy Club. Let's see, Rockland Astronomy Club, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Well, first of all, Peggy, thank you very much for letting us co-sponsor, and Mark, thank you for volunteering to do this talk. My name is Sarah Kolker. I'm on the board of directors for the Rockland Astronomy Club. We're a nonprofit group that supports education for space and astronomy. Our main events are just periodic in-person lectures. We have an annual dinner in March, Northeast Astronomy Forum in April, and in a star party in the late summer. Any interest, just go to rocklandastronomy.com. But thank you very much.
And I just want to mention, if I didn't already, that if you're interested in being added to the email list for any of our groups, please drop your email in the chat and maybe indicate which groups, or do you want all groups to add them to our email list. So thank you for that, Sarah. And Christine, do you want to say a few words about Rockland Audubon?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Peggy. I'm Christine Toth. I'm Conservation Chair at Rockland Audubon Society. And Rockland Audubon is happy to be here tonight, as the dark skies is really such an important issue. Birds really face many challenges, including the lack of darkness. They've evolved for thousands of years with no artificial light. And actually, a majority of birds migrate in the nighttime. Artificial light can be fatal to birds, causing disorientation or collisions. So we're happy to be here tonight, co-sponsoring with the Sierra Club, and we look forward to hearing more from Mark Gross.
Great. Thank you, Christine. I'm so glad to co-sponsor with both groups, and hope we can do it many more times going forward. And work on actions that will come out of this meeting. At the end of this meeting, so we're going to hear a talk by Mark, and then we'll have Q&A, and then we will be talking about what actions can come out of this meeting. What can we do in regard to some of the problems that Mark is going to be talking about. So this meeting, I also just want to mention, is one in a series that I'd like to be doing this year through Lower Hudson Group of Sierra Club. On the series, we're facing a serious crisis in extinctions and declining wildlife, loss of biodiversity and biomass. And so I see this as one in that series. The World Wildlife Society says that in a recent press release, they apparently do reports every year, that there's been a catastrophic 73% decline in the average size of global wildlife populations in just 50 years. This is the web of life unraveling. It's really, it's a very serious crisis that's right up there with climate change, somewhat related to it, but not the same thing. And it's a crisis that unfortunately it's not on the radar of public attention. It's just people are not talking about it. There's the bird population, nearly 3 billion birds fewer, apparently, that since 1970. Mammals are in decline, amphibians, insects. So this is really one in a series to try to raise awareness and begin to think about what can we do? What actions should we be advocating for? So now it's my great pleasure to introduce the program tonight. Mark Gross will be our speaker. He's the president of Dark Sky Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania chapter of Dark Sky International. He's also a night sky presenter, program presenter for Mechanicsburg School District, for the Pennsylvania State Parks Division, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services, Gettysburg College, and local municipalities. Mark?
Well, thank you so much.
One last thing, I guess I would say, just repeat, please hold your questions for the end. You can put them in the chat or just hold your questions and raise your hand or raise your hand digitally. Okay, thank you.
I thank you so much for Peggy and Sarah and Christine. Yeah, Christine.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate your support, and Sarah, the support at Need for Dark Sky and Dark Sky PA, and hopefully we'll get a New Jersey. We'll be back, and some other chapters. We so appreciate your support there. And we're very, very grateful for that. And I want to thank everybody for the opportunity to speak about something that I've become since 2019 pretty passionate about, more passionate than I should be sometimes. But I love the night sky, and I've learned it's just not the technical piece of it, which is fascinating, but it's also just the beauty of it. And so I'll start my presentation and share here. And Peggy, let me know if anything is not showing up properly.
Yeah, we just say put it into present mode. Start presentation. Yep.
Yeah, screen sharing. Okay, there we go.
Well, you're screen sharing, but now you want to hit play. Yep.
Yeah, it's why did it do that?
Yep, that's it.
What happened is that your let me see if I move this down a little bit, I'll be able to get to it. There we go. Okay. What came up from Zoom was
There you go.
the play button.
That's it. Yep.
Okay. So dark skies. Why do we need the dark? And a subtitle here of the importance of a naturally dark night sky and the call to preserve the natural night sky and conserve the nocturnal environment. And we can do this through the responsible use of artificial light at night. If we need to use light, we need to be responsible with it. So something that came to me over since I started this in 2019 and heard researchers and people talk, it came down to this: from the beginning of time, light and dark, day and night have orchestrated, arranged, timed, and signaled all life on Earth. And it's like if you think about an orchestra and there's a conductor in it, people, the instruments are setting in different sections, how they're placed, and the conductor guides that orchestra, that symphony in playing a piece of music. And light is very much like that conductor, and light and dark is how that's been done since the beginning of time. And most people think about light for vision, and it's just recently in the 2000s it came up as light as biological signal. Light is information, and that's not processed as vision. And it's important to know that those are two ways that light is used by life on Earth. And light and night has consequences based on vision. And these are just some of them. There's people on the call that know many more than I do. These are some of the ones that I've heard. So altered predation, I've seen a bullfrog sitting at the end of a edge of a lake underneath a light at a boathouse while the smorgasbord came to him from all over the lake, drawn to the light. And that's called opportunistic predation. And there's a problem with that because it is emptying out the normal as all those creatures are drawn to that light and then eaten by the frog, it's basically emptying out that habitat. So that's an advantage for the frog. I saw a bat. There was some beautiful huge moss being drawn to a bush that was flowering at night, and there was a street light there. So instead of going to the bush, they would get drawn to the light, and then a bat would swoop in about every 45 seconds and grab a big moth. And the problem with that is that eventually there will be no moss. The plant won't get pollinated, and then there won't be any food for the bat. So the disadvantages are, for predators that their prey can see them, but there's also advantages in that they can see prey that normally would be camouflaged by the dark, or even in some cases, the spectra in the light is fluorescing the prey, making them very visible. There's light capture, and so for the folks from Audubon, this is something that's well known with lighthouses and the 9/11 towers, and the birds get drawn into it and they're afraid to leave. I also suspect that's happening with greenhouse lighting. They're drawn to an area and they can't get out of it, and it's delaying their not only putting them in a bad place with danger, no food, no shelter, but it also delays their journey, and they don't have fuel to be delayed or time. So altered activity levels is when here in the places where we have some pretty good sky glow, deer are active all night long rather than bedding down. They're foraging, they're eating at night when they shouldn't be. And I know that that's something else that is happening with birds. Disrupted migration paths, and sending birds into dangerous environments, urban areas, drawing them off their normal migration routes. For lightning bugs, so it's masking of mating signals. So there's a decline in where bioluminescence is used for mating purposes. Loss of the natural nocturnal habitat, and this is one thing that that is crazy, because that's half the habitats on Earth, and here in Mechanicsburg, PA, there is no dark anymore. It's always twilight. So we're destroying the natural habitat, the natural nocturnal habitat. And habitats are also like individuals. And so as their biodiversity and population and biomass is degraded and depleted, they have nothing to give. They don't have the resources to share with, whether it's the daytime habitat or the habitat right next to them. It could be forest and water, aquatic and riparian. They no longer have the biomass and the population to share resource. So that's the visual effects. And then there's the biological effects on all living organism. And this goes from us all the way down to the bacteria in the soil is being altered. And the timing is a big thing, whether it's daily time cycles or seasonal rhythms like migration. There's what's happening, there's a desynchronization of nature, and the mistiming of food availability to meet the needs of, for instance, species, birds that are migrating. If the insects aren't there in the spring, or the berries aren't there in the fall, they don't have food. And it's because there's a mistiming due to light at night. In birds, induces mistimed nesting, breeding, and egg laying, so that the babies are not being born when there's food available for them, or whether it's cold or what have you. Diurnal species are foraging at night when they shouldn't be, and that is a problem, because light and dark separate out those two, and they have their own individual space that they can use according to light and dark. And so now there's not the resources that are there that they can both be foraging at the same time. So timing of migration, molt progression, and Christine, maybe you can tell me more about that. If that's timed wrong, that would be a bad thing for birds, I would think. I don't know much about it, but that's I know that it's causing mistimed molt progression. So it's loss of entrainment to the day and to the season in individuals, species, and we have to think of habitat or ecosystems as living entities as well. And so as what's inside them gets the loss of entrainment, so do they, and their relationship to other ecosystems. So it's a very cascading type of situation. And interestingly, so nocturnal mammals and aquatic environments are some of the most sensitive situations for light at night. And they use the moon. So any light that's above 0.1 lux, and sky glow is in many areas as well above that, masks the full moon. And so if these animals are using the phases of the moon to time their actions, and then they can't entrain themselves and be properly timed. So the moon phase that's crazy, but that's true. So there's I was reading in a book, Brady Sweetgrass, Nature's Law of Reciprocity. And it's all living organisms receive and provide services to other individuals, species, and habitats. All ecosystems receive and provide through mutualistic relationships with other ecosystems and habitats. And interestingly, the diurnal and the nocturnal exhibit the same pattern. So when we do away with the nocturnal, we're going to affect the diurnal. All artificial light at night is a pollutant. There should be, normally there is no light. And so it's a pollutant. It's an unnatural substance released into the natural environment with a growing number of known consequences. Serious light pollution is seriously underestimated. And I've talked about some of these before, just to sum them up. Direct biological and vision-related impacts to all species. Changes the interaction between organisms in a particular ecosystem. Changes the biodiversity and ecological function within an area across all of its ecosystems. Disrupts the services, I think this is really important, provided by eliminated or stressed organisms within the ecosystem. And last fall, there was a light pollution conference, an Allen conference that was, I attended virtually. And there was a number of the researchers that were calling out changes in DNA expressions. There was organisms, birds were one of those, where how they acted was changing due to light pollution. And they're trying to adapt and survive because the rapid increase of nighttime lighting, which is really, it's, the last 50 years, yes, but even the last 10, 15 years has even accelerated further with LED lighting. And so that echoes across whole ecosystems, and it's like a pretty big rock thrown into a pond. There's lots of ripples that are coming from that. And just to quickly, we've been looking at the biological, the ecology related things, but for humans, it's affecting our character. And so there's I do some studying of some indigenous cultures and their star knowledge and how they used that was to pass along their cultural identity to their children and grandchildren, and culture-based knowledge, shall I say, wisdom and heritage. And it's kind of odd, but it hit me that it's a form of colonialism. It's erasing those cultures and their history and not allowing them access to the storybook in the night sky that is the basis of their oral heritage. So it's a huge loss. I'm a musician and a songwriter and a producer, and so music and writing. There's so many songs and stories. Longfellow wrote from a knowledge of Ojibwe star stories. That was Hiawatha's song, or Song of Hiawatha. And so an invisible night sky, where we lose that, what is missing from our character because of that? What will happen? And in education, we lose access. It's an open encyclopedia for kids. When I do my night sky programs, they're blown away by what they see, and it makes them curious. I love to hear their questions and their thoughts. And so I'm looking at, it's a loss for amateur and professional science, because some of these kids and their curiosity might end up being professional scientists, maybe, if the stars and the night sky can draw them there. And something else that has come to mind this year is when we lose the view of the night sky, disconnects us from nature, and that's a source of peace for our mind and soul. And it's a shared human heritage through the ages and a common resource. Now, in Pennsylvania, we have a state constitutional amendment from 1971, and it protects nature and its beauty because it belongs to the people of our state. It's a common resource. So I wasn't sure how New York's, whether you have something like that. So the way we can help that is the 5 lighting principles for responsible outdoor lighting were put together by Dark Sky International and IES. And it's just that you make sure your light is useful, that it's targeted. That means careful aiming and shielding to keep it contained to where it should be. Low level light should be no brighter than necessary. Controlled, here at the house, we use hue sensors to turn our outside lights on and off and dim them at appropriate times and so forth. And use warmer color of lights, because the more blue content that a light has, the more effect that it has on the biology of us and of everything in nature. So an example of that, there's a great website, was one of the resources that I'll share, owenslab.org, and they said which sustainable lighting practices help sustain insects. And so there it lays it out that if you do the 5 principles, it helps to limit temporal disorientation, fatal attraction, spatial disorientation, and visual confusion. The one thing that's not in here that I mentioned was with fireflies. It's actually it suppresses their mating. And that also happens if you have mayflies around you and they're drawn to a bridge lighting and so forth. That's it's harming their their mating. So one thing that we get used to our night sky here, there's no night, it's always twilight, but we get used to it. And so with an SQM, a sky quality meter, you can measure it and you can compare it with what's around and know. So here at my home, it's 30 times the natural night sky level, the luminance of the sky. At the Astronomical Society of Harrisburg's Lewis Berry Naylor Observatory, it was 1955, and that ends up calculating out to about 9, almost 10 times the natural. And a portion of the Milky Way was visible faintly in the overhead in the summer triangle. I was up at Kings Gap to help with banding owls for a couple nights. And I measured up there with parking lot lighting on, and I was away from that lighting. It still measured at 20.04, which is about 6 times the natural level. And that's away from what you would think of light pollution in urban areas, but it's still there. And when they turned those lights off, it changed significantly. There was a gain. So it was only, almost 5 times instead of 6 times. Colonel Denning, the state park in around me in Pennsylvania here, Milky Way was very visible. My measurement there ended up calculating out to a little over 2.5 times. Lumber Heritage, which is a new, hopefully a new dark sky park near Emporium, PA, just a little bit away from Cherry Springs, that measured 2170, and that's just a little over 1 time the natural. So that's amazing. Only 20% of Americans can see the Milky Way from where they live. And as nocturnal habitat shrinks, the place that has a naturally dark night sky is a treasure to people and to wildlife who need that for respite when they pass through that during migration season, or whether they, it's where they live. So a naturally dark night sky is a foundational part of any conservation or sustainability strategy. For without a dark night, and I think after what I've said, you'll agree, without a naturally dark light, we'll lose it all, both the day and the night. And that's actually a picture that I took Thursday a week ago. Orion was rising in the trees at Kings Gap, and so the Orion Nebula. So it's so beautiful. So resources, I wanted to mention in darksky.org, there's new code and ordinance templates and a legislative template that you can use. There's a research database, and of course the 5 principles of responsible lighting are explained and so forth. There's a YouTube Dark Sky International YouTube channel, and so the conference that they had last weekend, those sessions will start coming up pretty soon. Travis Longcore is my hero, and the book that Catherine Rich and him wrote, Ecological Consequences of Artificial Light at Night, is a textbook on lighting's effects at night. Owen's lab has there's a lot of cool research that's highlighted in projects. A couple books, The Darkness Manifesto, which was written by a bat researcher from Sweden, and I can't pronounce his name. And there's a YouTube preview of that book. Braiding Sweetgrass, and another book, Starborn. It tells about our math, our sciences, even like things like the watches on our wrists have their beginnings. The stars taught us that. The stars drew us and made us curious. Calculus, of course, planetary math, Kepler's stuff. Bill McGeaney, he was a Dark Sky PA member, has a podcast and a site with resources. Lights Out Audubon, I wanted to highlight that. They're a great partner for Dark Sky, and I really appreciate their work. The Sky Quality Meter, that's where you can find out about that. And a couple different things, how, besides astronomy, how could we use parks and dark sky areas in different ways recreationally? And so there's an astronomer who combines that and yoga. And then I just did a quick search on guided night hikes, and there REI has them, LL Bean has them. Quite interesting. So Dark Sky International and Dark Sky PA, the PA chapter of Dark Sky, our purpose is to raise awareness of the effects of artificial light at night, and advocate for preserving the skies that we have, and even restoring what has been lit already. Roll that back. I hope protect communities and creation from the harmful effects of light pollution, promote responsible outdoor lighting, and promote night sky recreation and well-being activities, events, and places. And there's the general email, and there's my email that's on that, and the QR codes for both the sites. And with that, I'll stop my share. Peggy, there you go.
Yeah, now we can, did everybody hear me? I don't know if yeah, so now we can open it up for questions. You can put questions into the chat, or or raise your hand digitally, or just like that. Can you, I'll just kick it off by just saying, okay, we're getting a question here. Where are some good places to see dark skies in New York State?
I'm from Pennsylvania. So
Okay, maybe Sarah and Joe, do you know?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Are there good places in New York State to see dark skies?
Oh, yes, there is. We have an incredible event that Sarah mentioned. It's called the Haven Star Party. It takes place typically at the end of August. It's up near Liberty, New York, and the sky is magnificent. I think we have an SQM reading of, I think, 21. So that's right up there with that real good spot that Mark was showing before. And it's about about an hour and a half, about an hour and a half drive from Rockland. So it's not too bad. And if you're a member of the Rockland Astronomy Club, you're free to go up there
Anytime.
anytime you like.
That sounds great. I mean, I see some people have suggested Catskills, Adirondacks, but it's not all of the Catskills or Adirondacks. So I guess it's a question about, Shane, and I do have a few questions myself too. Shane, do you want to unmute?
Yes. So I had a question, and this actually relates to, because I saw this recommendation on a newsletter from my energy company. What about indoor lighting? Like they were saying, like there's a certain time of night where it's better if you turn it off, or I don't know if like closing all the shades actually helps bird migratory patterns, but that's my question. What about indoor lighting?
Indoor lighting is a problem, because you have to look at, my comment was that all light at night is light pollution. And even if it comes from inside, it's still light pollution. It's affecting whatever it's touching outside your house. And does it matter? It depends what it is. But like high rises, yes, there's definitely, but homes, I don't know. I think it's, that and holiday lights, right? right? People talk about holiday lights, and it's for a short time, but, and your house lights, you don't have them on all night. It's for, uh, a certain period of time. So, the thing is to limit, it's like any hazardous substance. When I worked at IBM, we had to do every year we did a hazardous materials handling thing. And what was important was the how much hazardous material there was in an environment. And you could think of that as blue spectra, the amount of blue spectra, the CCT, right? And um, and how much light, how long the exposure was, whatever that chemical was or whatever, and whether you use protective gear or not so that you weren't exposed to it. And the fourth thing that they did, they always monitored. Like when I went to the nuclear facilities around here for IBM, I had to have a dosimeter on. So, but light, people don't think about that. But I think it's from houses, it's minimal, but it's not non-existent. So anything that you can do, closing your blinds and things like that at night I think it's helpful.
That's why they said 10 or 11 o'clock to turn off the lights. That makes sense.
Right, and Mark mentioned holiday lights. Maybe the holiday lights don't need to be on all night. That's another way to,
Yeah,
I
who's
just
going to see them?
I just want to mention before we move on, I see there are other questions, but I just want to mention, it's also about a sense of awe that we're losing. You talked about spirituality or kind of, what we lose as human beings, part of our heritage. I don't think there's anybody who's looked up at a real night sky who hasn't felt a sense of connection to the connection to the universe, wonder, awe. That's, as human beings, I feel like that's what we're losing most of all. And I feel like, the fact that we have lots of people on today is partly, responsive to the fact that this is an issue that's not just with our heads, it's with our hearts also. It
Yeah.
touches our hearts.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah, we don't think about that. And this year was one where I drew away from the technical, and it was just the beauty of the sky and how I felt and what that did. And so this really is a character thing. I think it's more important than people realize.
And for children, because most of us on this call, we grew up with some sense of night skies, some
Mhm.
experiences, but how many of the children even know that it's out there? You just don't know. Okay, so moving on to other people's questions, stopping with my own comments. Larry, did you have a question? You have to unmute.
Hi.
I'm sorry. I muted you inadvertently. Larry, you have to unmute.
There we go. Good?
Mhm.
Okay. So thank you very much, Mark. That was a great talk. And you've hit upon something that I'm sure everyone on this call is, like Peggy says, a lot of us grew up and just thought it's something you're missing. It's something that was in childhood, and it's certainly not very visible in Rockland County. Can't see the Milky Way. But you mentioned one thing, and I kind of missed it. So I want to make sure that I found it. Because I think it's really important. Something about local model ordinances.
Yes.
Because look at this is Sierra Club and everybody else works on a lot of things that are huge problems, and individually we can all get together to try to correct them, but it still has to be thousands of people to do it. But this is usually, at least it is in New York State, is a local control kind of issue. Local zoning boards, planning boards, architectural review boards make these decisions, and they need to be. I can tell you, I was on an architectural review board in Orangetown, and I would bring the subject up, and people looked at me, even that did this and supposedly knew our code. And they just looked at me with a blank stare. They just didn't seem to get it. And finally, I'll just say that I went to a recent land review of a pretty awful environmental project And the only thing the Architectural Review Board had to say about it was that there wasn't enough lighting. And wouldn't some wonderful uplighting show this building off better? And it was even the developer was saying, you want that? You know, so I think there's some education to be done. And if there were model ordinances, that would be great to follow up on for any of us, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you again.
Yep, Larry, if you go to darksky.org and there's on the main page, it says something like what we do, and then the one next to it says get involved. And either one, when you click on that, the next page shows some statutes and ordinances kind of link. Click on that. And there is some legalese, because if people change it, Dark Sky doesn't want to be either liable or associated with it. So once you click agree and submit, you'll get the link to go to the templates. And the older templates that were written in 2011 were really complex. I'm not an ordinance guy. I need something that's easy to understand. And so they did that really well. There's a couple of things that I have problems with that I have questions in the Dark Sky on, but that's still, there's a lot, most of it is good. And it's like, you can take that template and make it fit your municipality and basically drop it into your ordinances as the lighting ordinance. So it saves a lot of time and is pretty good. I have some questions, and hopefully they'll, I misunderstood something or what have you.
So Larry, responding to Larry's comment about the planning board, the planning boards do regular training. And so one of the things that Christina and I were talking about ahead of time was, one of the ideas we were tossing back and forth was the possibility of maybe approaching the person who does that training for the Rockland County person. His name is escaping me right now, but Larry, maybe you know it.
Yeah,
About
well, it's
possible-
Doug Schutz's organization, but I can't remember.
It's not Doug.
It used to be
it's-
Arlene Miller, but I
Right,
don't know
right,
who her
exactly. It's a
replacement is.
planning board consortium that he runs, that they do regular training, and maybe they could do.
A federation,
tra-
Rockland
they could
Federation.
do training
Suzanne
on,
is on this. Suzanne is on
this,
this. I'm
yeah.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay. okay,
Suzanne is on this call. She probably could, clarify that. The Rockland, it's the Planning Federation.
okay.
Yeah.
Um,
you know,
lot-
Peggy, I just wanted to add one other thing. I think there's
Yeah.
a Dark Skies like official location at Block Island. And people are asking about New York.
hmm,
I can't
Okay.
remember, but it kind of
Okay.
reminds me that might be one of the
Okay.
places that seemed like a logical one. Anyway,
Okay,
thanks a lot.
so I know there are a lot of questions here. So Emily Harvey, you have your hand up. You want to unmute? And I will get to the ones in the chat too. I'm
Yeah,
seeing it.
thank you for taking my comments. I know there is a type of lighting, exterior lighting, that does not interfere with birds. And as this school, I put it in the chat at Northfield Mount Herman, somebody on the faculty there discovered this amazing light. It's a little bit less bright than usual light, but it's perfectly good for lighting pathways. And it just seems to me that Audubon could mobilize public support for something like that. All the people that care about birds, if they knew what to get and where to get it, would make an effort to make a better environment at night. There's so many people now have these super bright lights on their outside
Yes.
doorsteps, but I think it's a question of education and awareness, and maybe Audubon would be a good place to start to
And
distribute leaflets and to do newspaper articles, whatever
And
would
Sierra-
work on the
Sierra-
radio. Yeah.
Okay, good suggestion. Sherwood?
Emily. Chocolate, please.
Yes, thank you. I've been doing presentations on the dark sky for about 15 or 20 years. And I've been putting some things in chat here that I guess I'll highlight for the group and then ask my question mark. Local control is where lighting ordinances are managed and changed and where public lighting policy is made. But I find for myself that the principal challenge I find is finding out who the real person is locally to talk with. There are different titles in every county of the United States of America. You have to find out who is it that's really involved with that sort of thing. And then the other thing is that it takes some time to build a constituency, because no politician listens to just one person, unless it's their personal friend. But otherwise, there have to be enough people that it matters to them to actually pay some attention to this topic.
That's one of the reasons that we formed Dark Sky PA, that we could have people from all across PA, that we can communicate with legislators and local officials. So because the one thing is that if I have resources from California, that like Travis Longcore, he's amazing, but the people here can't accept that. They have a problem with that. But if you have local people who are know a lot about it, like yourself, then to get other people around you, and you start to have more of a voice. The other thing that I've done is that, so in Mechanicsburg, PA, here in Pennsylvania, we have environmental advisory councils that advises the borough council and the planning commission and any other entity about environmental issues, light pollution being one of them. And so to work from the inside, not as just complaining, but bringing solutions. This is how you can have the lighting that you need and do it properly, so that we don't have light pollution, that we so you can work that from the inside. But yeah, it's I won't say that it's been easy.
Well, and I want to emphasize that the most important thing is that you always bring the topic back to money. We're either going to make money because we're more attractive here, people want to live here, people want to visit here, or we're going to save money because the kind of lighting that we are advocating, is less expensive.
Right.
If you can bring it back to money, you've got people's ear.
And
Yeah.
Sherwood, do you live in New York State? Do you live at
No,
locally?
I did live in New
Okay.
Jersey for about 10 years
Okay,
and was active in the RAC, the Rockland Astronomy Club, but I now live in Indiana,
okay.
and we have just exactly the same problem. I mean, you guys think you're in an urban area, but Indiana is quickly becoming covered not only by urban development, but every single farmer has to have a brilliant light out in their yard, right? The lighting companies made a very smart decision about 25 or 30 years ago that they would install a light in your yard, a brilliant yard light, and all you had to pay was $2 or $3 a month. There's no installation charge. So now everybody has lights. And of course, after 15 or 20 years of paying a few dollars a month, you've paid for the light, and now it's income for the lighting company. So I find that it's not possible to find anything better than a Bortle 4 sky, or maybe 3 here in Indiana. Now you would think we're in an agricultural world. Surely it gets dark, but it doesn't out here. So wherever you are, don't give up, you guys that are in the New York metropolitan area.
Mhm.
And also one other thing, I always acknowledge when I make a presentation that there will be urban areas like New York City, which I like New York City. They'll always be brilliant. You're always going to have to drive a ways, right? Because otherwise we look like we want the whole world to be dark again or something. And then people go, these people aren't serious. What are they, hippies?
So,
Of
thank
course.
you.
Well, we may secretly be. You can't come to an urban council or any kind of county council and say, we wish we could see the stars at night. They're like, yeah, we wish we could too. And I
So-
think even the bird thing doesn't always fly. It's got to be money. It has to come back to money.
Mm. So that brings me to two issues. So I'm seeing one question in the chat, and there was a question that was emailed to me ahead of time. So Jill says, I have to admit I don't like it. She's bringing up the question of driving at night on streets that don't have lighting. Is there a type of lighting? And I know I've read about motion sensors even on streetlights. Do you know anything about that? And then the other question was about lighting and safety. That people are paranoid about their houses, their property, whatever they feel. So those two safety aspects of safety, personal safety and driving safety, I guess I would say.
Yes, so the safety thing is quite interesting because here I have street lights that are on all night, and at 2 in.the morning, there's no one there.
Mm.
It has nothing to do with safety, and just an experiment that you can do. And I never realized this. I wear glasses, and I've gone to the eye doctor since I've been little, like 5 years old. So lots of visits. And the one thing that they always do that I never got until my last check, I didn't understand, was that they have you read the eye chart. They dim the room a little bit and they put the eye chart up, and they have you read as little as you can get to. And then while that's up and the situation is still like your irises are open pretty well, they will use a little light that's down below, like on your cheek, and they turn it on, and they're checking your pupil response. So go outside your house tonight or any other time, even in the street lights, and take just one of these little pocket LEDs and turn it on and put it underneath your eye. Not that it's going to shine in your eye, but below it. And all of a sudden what you'll see is that our eye is adapting to that light level, even though it's not directly in our eyes, closing down our aperture. And if you're an astronomer, less aperture is less light. And so what that's doing, we can see in the dark pretty well. Down to, like in a full moon, we can see pretty well. But as soon as you start adding light to that and you bring up that ambient level, that is what you can see. You can't see below it. You can only see above it until you get to the point where light is so bright that it hurts and you got to turn away because your eyes are trying to protect themselves from the light. But from a safety standpoint, what happens is that, and you can do this experiment out, just go outside and be looking out, like if there's street lights around you that are kind of lighting your neighborhood. As soon as you do that, I'm going to say 60 to 70% of what you can see goes black. And so you can't see when there's too much light. There has to be the right amount of light. When there's too much light and it gets too bright, it raises our adaptation level, and now we can no longer see into the shadow. The shadows are just, and so for driving, that could mean we go through a really bright intersection into a dark area, and there's somebody crossing the road, and before our eyes can readapt to the light, we can't see them and we can hit them. So from a safety aspect, it's the right level is really important, especially as we age, as our eyes age. I heard CIE, which is the European IES, a former vice president did a presentation, and he said, "Hey kids, when you get old like I am, it's like you're wearing a pair of sunglasses at night. You can't see in the dark as well as you could." And so that light disrupting and shutting down our irises makes it even harder. It's like, do you turn your dome light on when you drive? It makes it harder to see at night.
Understood. Understood. So I mean, the two things that I've heard about for driving are either motion sensors that apparently they can put on streetlights, and also timers. So
Yeah.
it might be that you might need streetlights. You feel you need streetlights. Let's say now people are coming home, driving home in the dark, coming home after work, but you might not need them at 3 a.m., for the streetlights,
So you either turn them off or dim
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, or dim them. That's another good idea, dim them. Sherwood is saying it's counterintuitive that neighborhoods are actually safer when it's dark. Studies have shown this, and I see a response. Are there references for this? Yeah, it just,
Yeah. Yep.
yes,
Yeah.
is this true that it can be
If you,
safer when it's dark?
yeah, if you look at on darksky.org, there's a research artificial light at night Allen research database, and if you put in search arguments that are searching for that kind of thing, crime levels and so forth, and I can give you an example here. So our streetlights, they changed from HPS to LED, and when they did that, the HPS, I can go up the street here and measure them, still measure them. There's some left. They measure about 6 or 7 lux on the road. Now the new ones measure 60. And all they've done is it's really bright. And so when people park their cars either in their driveways or along the street, now if somebody's looking to see what's in your car, that you've left something in there, and they can break your window and get it. Now they can see really well. They don't need a flashlight anymore. So it's mixed. I think it's mixed. And are we afraid of the dark? Yeah. Yeah. But we can see in a lot lower light than what we think. And when we raise that above a certain level, now we can't see.
Mhm.
We can't see into the dark. And we become the target. We become the
So-
victim rather than being able to see the criminal. They can see us.
So are there what I was seeing on the Dark Sky website is that there are some downsides to some types of LEDs. Are there good, LEDs are so much better on energy efficiency. So I hate to recommend against LEDs. Are there good LEDs, better LEDs, and lesser LEDs? Not so good, more harmful LEDs.
Right. I think the issue is the higher the Kelvin, the more blue is in that, and the more that your eyes are going to respond to that. And I believe that it's like when you hit like 4,000 or 5,000 K, that is 5 times more impactful on your eyes and the ability to see than if they use 2,700 or 3,000. Or go down to 2,200. There's an exponential bump there as you increase, not level, but the blue spectrum, the Kelvin, the higher Kelvin, more white blue lighting is actually not good. So the lower Kelvin is, you can see in the dark better, and it's like that's intuitive because we just bought a new truck and it's got the white lights, and I feel so bad about it, but they are aimed pretty well. But our older vehicle had the yellowish lights, and the difference, especially at my age, a vehicle coming towards me with a white light as opposed to a yellow light, I'd rather have the yellow light one. I can see better. So I think that translates into whether it's home lighting or street lighting or what have you. I think the lower Kelvin is easier on our eyes at night, especially as we age.
Sherwood, did you still have your hand? Did you have your hand up intentionally, or? Okay, you didn't mean, okay. I have a question. You said something about soil during the presentation, that it affects even the health of the soil. Could you talk about that? And then a second question is about human health impact. So 2 different questions, soil and human health.
Yeah, so I heard about the soil at the Allen conference last fall, and it's changing. the biodiversity of the bacteria in the soil, the very makeup of the soil. And, so you have, insects and things that are smaller than that, and the wrong kind of bacteria is there for them to eat. And so it's affecting the food chain from the very bottom. And that's crazy. But that's what they're finding, is changing the biodiversity and the health of the very soil that we want our plants to grow in, and it'll affect the health of everything, insects, plants, and everything, eventually cascading up to us. So our health. So there's a resource that I didn't include. It's called BioClock Consortium. They're out of the Netherlands, and it's circadian science. They're trying to they want to encourage young people to get into that field. It's a new field, and there's all kinds of crazy research going on, crazy cool stuff, and they want more young people to be involved and be inspired to get into that. And they have some pretty in-depth things that go over my head, way over my head, but you can glean enough from when they're talking to say, oh, you got to be kidding. And so, there's all kinds of writings about circadian rhythms and so forth, and how, melatonin and serotonin, how that goes. And I don't know if you can see, my lights are hue lights here, and they are red shifting as we speak. I'll maybe have to go in and brighten them up so you can still see me. But that website, if you just listen to some of I've listened to about 15 of them so far. Even the first couple, when you listen to it, you get like, oh my gosh, this stuff isn't nonsense stuff. There's deep science going on here. And these people, I heard one of the researchers, Camille Spolstra, talked on a call. It was put on by Philips Lighting, and he was talking about how lighting affected animals at night. And he is on staff there. So he's been doing that. That was 2019 when I heard that. So he's been doing that a long time. So there's a lot of circadian stuff out there, some good research, and some good instructions that you can look at. And yes, I'd be very concerned.
So, Christine, I wonder if you wanted to talk for a few minutes about what you know about the impact on birds of light pollution. But you have to unmute. Okay.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Oh, sorry, Peggy. Yeah, so like along the East Coast, many species of birds, they fly along the Atlantic Flyway to get between their breeding ground and their wintering grounds. Shorebirds, they take advantage of the mudflats along the Atlantic, such as those on Piermont Pier. And more inland, a variety of songbirds that winter as far south as South America may stop over for food and rest in our wooded areas of Rockland County. So the birds, like along this migration, they really face many challenges, including the loss of habitat, the climate emergency, and also now this lack of darkness. They've evolved for thousands and thousands of years without artificial light. And some birds like owls are commonly associated with nighttime, but actually a majority of birds migrate at night, including varieties of songbirds and ducks. And the artificial light can be fatal to birds. It causes them either like disorientation or can cause like direct collisions into objects. So,
Now, Christine and I were talking ahead of time a little bit, kind of going back and forth about kind of what can we do about this? And one of my thoughts was the Tappan Zee, sorry, Tappan Zee Mario Cuomo Bridge. So I don't know if, Christine, did you get any further with that?
yeah, so the Tappan Zee Bridge, I still call it the Tappan Zee Bridge, but they've yeah, they have these bright aesthetic lights going on like very frequently throughout the year. And they tend to do to have them on like for the entire nighttime. And also that bridge tends to be like very close to Piermont Pier, which is actually like the top birding spot in Rockland County. Like a huge number of species of birds have been seen there on Piermont Pier. Yeah, so that's something like I actually I reached out to someone at the New York State Thruway Authority about it. And he said that, you know, he's open to talking to people more in Albany to see if anything can be done about it. What he did say, he said that that the public has given like a very good response about these lights, like they're very happy with it. But the one thing I told him was that, you know, the lights are just on, the aesthetic lights seem to be on so frequently that the public may just get bored of it eventually. Like if they just turn like those special colored lights on like less frequently, then when people see them, they'll be more excited about it. So
I just want to say for anybody who doesn't live in this area, so the bridge is relatively new. I can't remember how old it is exactly. And there's sort of these spectacular lighting that goes up kind of the, whatever you call it, the tall part of the bridge, and they change the color depending on, you know, if it's the 4th of July or Thanksgiving or whatever it is, they change the coloring, and there's something very beautiful about it. But what I was sort of suggesting to Christine was, well, maybe what they could do, if we could sort of educate them, like maybe write a letter, maybe a joint letter from Sierra Club and from Audubon, to kind of say, well, wouldn't it be possible to dim the lights? You know, you don't have to turn, obviously you have to have some lights, both for aviation for small planes and also just for safety on the road. But wouldn't it be possible to maybe dim those lights, make them a little less spectacular, and or dim them for some portion of the evening, something like that? Do we really need them full blast at 3 a.m.? You know, so what do people think about that idea? Any responses or ideas? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a cool site that's called birdcast.info. Christine, do you know about that one?
yeah, I think I do, yes.
That's amazing. So it shows you, you know, where birds are going to be migrating and when, and where, how high they're flying, and it depends on the night. And so it would be interesting to use some smarts with lighting to say, we have, like in Cumberland County the other night, you know, we could have 2.5 or 3 million birds crossing our county at night. And so when you have that kind of situation, can we dim the lights, or, you know, who knows, even turn them off for a period of time until the radar shows that those birds are past.
Yeah.
You know, so
I know they have done it with some of the skyscrapers in Manhattan for certain periods. And I feel like, you know, even though the public seems to love the lighting, I feel like if there was a little public education around it to say this is to protect the birds, that people might be sympathetic to that as well, you know. So, you know, Christine, I'd certainly be happy to collaborate on a letter like that. I don't know if people have other ideas.
Can I actually bring up something? Not that it's going to
Yeah.
help at all.
Please,
I'm actually
please.
a bridge engineer, and so I'm the type who gets the requirements that the owners want, and they always want these big lighting, I don't know what you would call it, but it's true that there's never really, I think it's so important to have the education, or even for, the engineers to say, to question, these requirements we're getting, because light pollution is never brought up. So I think that I agree with totally, trying to educate the owners and the public.
And
And the-
also, like, if they were to agree to dim the lights on the bridge or reduce the time that the aesthetic lights are on, that could also be really good education for the public, because then like the public would realize like, wow, like they've dimmed the lights for the bridge. And I think that would bring like a huge awareness for the public.
Mhm.
So
It's also a way of saving energy too, but I think people might respond to it with more warmth. The public might respond to it more warmly if it's about saving birds.
last February, I attended, and I'm still involved with a couple work groups from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services. And on the first morning, her name, she's from the Cornell Bird Institute or what have you. She studies populations, the population decrease. And what she said, and I'm biased about this stuff, right? But what she said stunned me. I just like sat back in my chair and said, there's no way. Like, are you kidding me? Her comment was, we're losing 1 billion birds in the US every year due to light pollution and building collision. And that there was a 70% decrease in grassland birds over the last 50 years. So since the 70s, a 70% decrease in their population. And so people just don't realize the impact that light is having, and that the choice is almost to the point of where we were in the 1970s and Silent Spring, where we say you can't use DDT because we won't have anything left. I think we're getting to that point with light pollution. There's an awareness growing, and research is pointing that out, that if we don't light more responsibly, whether we're dimming or choosing the right colors that maybe birds aren't attracted to, that kind of stuff, that it's, people say, well, we can just turn the switch off and we'll fix everything. I don't think so. Because if we have cratered populations that we can't recover, will we ever recover the grassland bird species? What do you think, Christine?
Yeah, no, there's been really like substantial decline, like you've said. And loss of habitat. Yeah, a lot of time, like when we think of restoring habitat, like we think of like woods. But then, yeah, a lot of like the grassland gets lost in there, and
as I think Mark made the point, light is part of the habitat. That's an essential part of the habitat. It's not only birds, unfortunately, it's also insects, it's amphibians, it's mammals, small mammals. He talked about predators and nocturnal, and it's really all of this wildlife. What about plants? Mark, is there an impact on plants as well?
Yeah, there's a serious impact on plants and for trees. So how about we experience a little bit. So just take a breath and hold it for, however long you're comfortable holding it, until it's like, oh, I need to breathe. And just do that. So you don't have to do it now, but just do it sometime. So a tree has a daily cycle, and you can use one of the AI, whether it's Gemini or I use Grok the other day, that the one on Twitter or X, and said, well, so what's the daily cycle of a tree? And so it's and you guys probably know this better than I remember it from high school, and so there's carbon dioxide at night is what they release. They breathe out, they aspirate that. During the day, they aspirate oxygen. So it's like the tree is breathing, but it takes one breath a day. And so if we stop it from taking that, from exhaling, how that's what a tree is experiencing when we light. It could be just sky glow levels. And I've seen we had a beautiful red bud in the front yard here, and the street light across the street, I eventually killed it. And the reason was it killed the area that was exposed to the street light. It was an HPS street light, so lots of red spectrum, and it controlled the stomata, what allows the trees open it during the day, and that provides the hydraulics to pull water up from the earth, and at night they shut so that process reverses. And the stomata were staying open all night long. So when you get to the end of the summer, where things are stressed a little bit, it was basically drying the tree out from the inside out and killing it. And so there's a really interesting chapter in Travis's and Catherine Rich's book about plants, and that there's actually, most plants have 4 blue receptors, photoreceptors, and 2 red infrared ones. Some trees tilt their leaves because of, they're trying to level the temperature so that their leaves don't get burnt, so they don't get sunburned, so to speak. So they'll turn them away from the sun if it gets too much. So lights or trees and plants mitigate their environment through the signal of light, just like any other creature does.
So I see that, and I guess you could put it into the chat, Margaret. Are there scientific, or if you can't think of them right off, but are there scientific studies on the impact of artificial lights on plants? So, maybe
Yes.
something to when we follow up.
Yeah, there's a good one, Purdue
Mhm.
Extension has one on trees. So put in a search Purdue and light and trees, and you'll get to that one where it identifies which species are more sensitive than others to light at night. But that was HPS lighting, old lighting, not LEDs. So you could find some information about that in the Dark Sky Research database if you search lights and trees or lights
So
and plants.
I want to give a little bit of time, because I know it's starting to get late. First of all, Sarah or Joe, did you want to say anything more, responding for Rockland Astronomy about dark skies and the loss of dark skies?
It's us astronomers, it is so painful when we don't have our dark sky. I can't, there's so many environmental crises. For us astronomers, the light pollution is the absolute worst. We hate it so much. I've been a member of the Rockland Astronomy Club since the 1970s. We had beautiful dark skies in Rockland County in the 1970s, and it's a real tragedy what we've lost. I hope we can do something about it.
Mm. So let's talk for sure. So you mean from the standpoint, not just of, being frustrating because you're not able to see as much, but just feeling it sort of emotionally. It's a loss.
I feel it very intensely. No environmental issue hits me emotionally as hard as light pollution.
Mm.
It's something about it is just so horrifying.
Mhm.
It's a real tragedy.
I think what hits me is always, when we vacation, sometimes we'll go someplace where it's possible. It's one place I'm thinking of in particular where you can see the Milky Way.
Yeah.
And it's just always so stunning
Yes.
how we don't know that we're not seeing, we're completely blind to what is still there, but we're blind to it. It's what always strikes me, that it's there, it's there.
We had a beautiful Milky Way in Rockland County in the 1970s,
Mhm,
just as good as upstate New York.
mhm,
Horrible.
mhm. So apparently Steve from Dark Sky, New Jersey is on, which I did not realize. Did you want to say, Steve, did you want to say a few words? I'm sorry, I didn't realize that you were.
All
from-
good. Yeah, because I'm a member of
Yeah.
the Rockland Astronomy Club. And hi, Mark. Yeah, I don't know if anyone who's a New Jersey resident is interested in getting involved to reduce light pollution in New Jersey. We're actually teamed up with the New Jersey Sierra Club Dark Sky chapter. We meet once a month on Zoom, and we just discuss. We support each other with presentations, tabling events, and just and working on actually some policies at the state level and municipal level to reduce light pollution. So yeah,
Could you say? a quick
I
word
dropped my
about-
email in the
about-
chat.
That would be great. Could you say a quick word about state level? 'Cause we do
Yeah,
have-
there's actually some
we do have somebody who's very interested in state, a few people maybe, but at least one
Yep.
person very interested in state legislation.
There's some pending legislation in the state of for New Jersey regarding new lighting projects will have fully shielded light fixtures 2700 Kelvin or lower. Well, one of our people in our chapter is pretty close with some state legislatures, so we've been like actually modifying the language of this bill. So yeah, that's some good news on the state level. That like any new state funded lighting projects, it should pass, by the way, too. I can keep people updated about that. So
That would be
that's what's going on
great.
at the state level, and then there's a couple towns that are developing dark sky ordinances and such. Yeah.
Mhm. And are there any, well, I mean, I guess it's a more technical conversation. Maybe some of us can kind of work on this going forward, but just thinking, are there some model ordinances that seem to be working better as opposed to, and some that have been more problematic?
I mean, I can send.
Okay.
I can email a certain one. Like there's certain towns like I'm it's slipping my mind right now. Hopewell, New Jersey.
Okay.
Hopewell Township has like a pretty good dark
Mhm.
sky ordinance that seems to work well. I mean, in some municipalities, people are more receptive to these things than others, but I'm working on one right now in Saddlebrook, New Jersey, which is next to Hackensack, so it's pretty light polluted. And just the more you show up at these mayor and council meetings and just give the council people literature on light pollution, and like the more you show up, the more receptive they are. So
Mhm. You did put your email in the
yeah,
chat?
I'll put it
Okay.
again. It's just
Okay.
steve.mariconda@darksky.org.
Okay. Okay. Other questions or comments or ideas about where to take this going forward? And I'm sorry if I missed, I've been trying to read the chat, but I may have missed some. Any other thoughts or comments? Kathy says the expanding agriculture has threatened some bird species too. Yes, absolutely. The loss of habitat and chemicals. Yeah, Jackie.
There we go. Hi there, everyone. This has been very illuminating. The fellow who just spoke from New Jersey, so if you're doing something in the did you say Saddlebrook area? Mawa area?
No, not Saddle River and Saddlebrook get confused often. Saddlebrook is a little further south. It's next to like Lodi and Hackensack. It's a little more
So
of a
is
city
that,
like.
is that where you're working on your?
Yeah, that's where I
Right,
live.
right.
So yeah, that's where I'm working on the. Yeah, that's
Well,
where I'm working on.
that's very heavily light polluted. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
The ordinance we're working on now focuses on businesses and like street lights, municipal lighting, because town residents aren't really educated about light pollution yet. So we're just one step at a time. Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, the more we show up and talk about light pollution at warehouses and all sorts of things, the more they tell us to go away. But I guess there's some other way of approaching it maybe that will be taking away from this. Thank you.
You got it.
Yeah, I remember Sherwood's comment about money. And Sherwood, speaking of which, did you have a comment?
Yes, well, I just wanted to say that when we approach people concerning light pollution or the adverse effects of nighttime lighting, it can help to leaven the conversation if we say that every single technological advance brings its own challenge. There was a belief in the 19th century that if anyone ever went faster than 50 miles an hour, because that's fastest any animal was known to run, or 70 miles, if you ever went faster than that in a locomotive, you'd explode. You couldn't bear a speed like that. And of course, automobiles take us fast enough that if you get in a wreck, you can be in bad shape. Electricity can kill you, of course. Every technological advance brings its challenges. And the ability to have light at night is just one of those. That's all. It's not that we're bad people. It's not that anybody's bad people. It's just a challenge that every technological advance brings.
Unintended consequences. And I think Sherwood had also put it in the chat at one point that part of our fear of the dark is, you know, and it sort of seems to go back to earliest human beings sitting around a fire at night, you know.
Yeah,
that
it's absolutely
it
instinctual.
seems
Yeah.
instinctive. Yeah. Yeah. Other questions or comments about that? And then if people want, they could stay on for a few minutes to talk. It's late now, it's almost 8:30, but maybe we could talk just for a few minutes about kind of about other issues, other things, other questions, last comments. I don't want to.
Peggy, I'll take it as
Yeah.
an action to reach
Okay.
out to Dark Sky New York, because
Okay.
we've been lucky enough to have Dark Sky New Jersey and Dark Sky Pennsylvania represented. But of course, we're Sierra Club New York, so it'd be great to figure out if we're already collaborating.
I just wanted
Okay,
to mention
great.
that they don't have an active chapter right now, unfortunately. There used to be like 2 very active chapters.
Well, I saw 2 listed on the website.
But there are, if
one
you look at the
being-
delegates,
Okay.
there's some good. There are 2 active delegates. One in New York City, Robin Schwartz, and sorry, in Albany too. There's a good guy, John Bulmer.
Okay. Okay, that would be great, Sarah.
Okay, yeah.
That would be wonderful. And in the meantime, maybe Christine and Sarah and Joe, maybe we can start to, and anybody else who wants to work on it, we can start to work on the idea of a letter for the Bridge Authority. Actually, I think Sarah would be really helpful, given that you are, if Sarah is still here. It would be really helpful to have Sarah's input on the whole issue of framing the letter. As a bridge engineer, I think that would be a wonderful, a wonderful input for us to have for that letter. I feel like that's doable. The one thing that I like about it is that it's doable, because I know they do it in skyscrapers in Manhattan, and I feel like we're not asking for something. We're not asking for them to turn off the lights altogether. We're just asking for them to, you know, to be mindful of the bird migration seasons. You know, so definitely let's connect about that, and maybe we can also talk afterwards about if anybody else wants to work on this. Please put your name and email in the chat. Maybe about the issue of ordinances, also model ordinances. And maybe we could start to even collaborate on, you know, kind of thinking about going to some towns or villages that might be more receptive. Like I'm thinking Nyack, Upper Nyack, and, you know, maybe some of the places in Westchester or other areas that might be more receptive to like a presentation or a talk about it, just bringing them the idea. You know, does that sound good? And then Emily, did you have comments?
Yes, for another time, another meeting, another issue that maybe we could address is the effect of herbicides and pesticides that people use. That is the
on birds you're talking about, specific, or on wildlife in general.
Yeah, and again, as a public awareness, they put these things on their lawns and they take away all the leaves and cover and mow lawns instead of letting the public.
And we were talking about the soil before.
It's
That's
another
certainly
topic.
definitely alters the soil.
Mhm.
There's something called the insect apocalypse that's going on right now. You know, a neighbor of ours used to regularly have their lawn sprayed by chem lawn. Uh, and they moved out, and years later, all of a sudden I began to see rabbits. And it struck me that maybe one of the differences was that that spraying had stopped for many years, you know, just maybe it's really was affecting the wildlife. Jackie, did you have your hand up again? Or was it just up from before? If you want to. Oh, Jill is asking an interesting question. Would getting rid of daylight savings time help with reducing the need for lighting? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know.
Maybe in the evening, but the only thing about getting rid of daylight savings time, yeah, it would just be shifting the hour in one direction or the other. I mean,
Yeah,
in the
because
winter,
you
it's still going to be
You still have to light in the morning.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or if we kept daylight saving time permanent, it would be dark in the morning when people are heading to work, as opposed to dark at night when people are driving
Right,
home from work.
understood.
So you're just
Understood.
shifting it one way or the other.
Okay, understood. Emily, did you still have your hand up, or did you have another question or comment? Okay, so any other last questions or comments? I don't want to. Lots of people saying thank you, great presentation, important topic. I think people
Thank you
really
so much.
responded to this topic. So, you know, it's obviously a topic that people care about. As I mentioned in the beginning, I think it's one that, you know, that we feel as
Mhm.
opposed to just thinking about it, you know. And I feel so strongly about the loss of biodiversity. This is a topic that we really need to raise awareness in the same way that we, you know, began to try to kind of ring the alarm at some point. I don't know, for me, it was in the early 2000s, you know, to 2006, I really started Rockland Sierra Club because because of climate change. It was like, you know, we need to raise the awareness about the topic of biodiversity too. And I think people assume that it's only about climate change. That's certainly a major factor, but there are other factors. And in one way, some ways, what I like about the topic of light pollution is it's something that is more under our control. Not saying that we should go stop talking about, and obviously we need to continue to advocate strongly on the topic of climate change, but light pollution specifically is something that we can control somewhat in our own homes, and that, you know, possibly it can be approached at the municipal level, county buildings, for example. Could county buildings or a large town like Clarkstown? Maybe that's another one to go to. Orangetown has buildings, you know, like some of these larger towns, Ramapo, you know, go to them and also talk to them about their own property, maybe reducing the lighting, and maybe they could be messaging that out to the public to be saying, here's why we're reducing the lighting on or dimming the lights on our property, you know. So all of these things are things that are possibly more doable. Sherwood, I see you have your hand again.
Well, I think Jill Robin Ratner asked an excellent question. She's had 3 or 4 very good questions in chat. And maybe our speaker, Mark, can comment on whether there are any other parts of the world that can offer a model for how to publicize or how to proceed
Yeah,
with
that's a good
this.
question.
On the
Yeah.
other hand, maybe we're leading the parade. I don't know.
Europe has some, France has some national legislation. But, you know, we'll see how that goes. So Europe is pretty light polluted. You know, maybe I think more than our East Coast. Interestingly, the one thing we noticed on a trip out west is that their skies are dark out there and they're not as concerned because it hasn't gotten like it is on the East Coast yet. So they just weren't aware of they have no idea what it's like even on the East Coast that,
Yeah,
Yes.
Mark, I'd like to say I've been on the big island of Hawaii. You can drive a quarter of a mile out of any little town on the big island, and it is as dark as the American West. And
Yeah.
the reason is because of the observatories on top of Mauna Kea. And they have excellent regulations. You can't have any upward pointing house lights or no billboards. I mean, it's a model for, and yet when you're in town, it's lit. You can find your way around. It's not like, I mean, I was staying in a resort on the west coast of the Big Island, and I could swim in the pool at night, and it was all lit all around me, but all the lights were down shielded.
That's really interesting. So that really could be a model, what they're doing.
I want to add
yeah.
one more
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
too.
Let's sponsor a trip for everybody to the Big Island of Hawaii.
Steve?
I put my hand up for
Steve, did you-
that.
Oh, I just put in the chat too. A couple other countries like Chile and the Atacama Desert. Chile is like enacting like national legislation to address light pollution because their astronomy is so important in Chile, and as well as Australia and New Zealand too, making a lot of good strides there.
Mhm.
And they have really good dark skies, so they're trying to protect it.
Although the Atacama Desert is really remote, but that's interesting that they're looking at the national legislation. Suzanne makes a good point in the chat. It's interesting. This is one issue that doesn't appear to require huge funding to address, and also can save money. I just want to add that once you do make some changes, it can actually reduce energy use, and so it can have. It's true. It can. It has positive monetary effects. So I want to respect everybody's time and let you go. I was planning to have a kind of a bit of a discussion about kind of priorities going forward, but what I'm thinking is maybe we should shift that to the December meeting, and certainly we can follow up on this discussion. I think we probably maybe make it the second Monday of the month instead of the third, just because the third is close to the holidays. But I just want to say, we know what we're up against in Washington. We're in a tough climate now going forward, and so I think the way to go is local and state action. We really we're not going away. We're definitely all ready to do what needs to be done. Maybe I just want to close with a thought that all of this, it's as far as being environmentalists, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, and you got to be in it for the long haul. But I think what was really good about tonight's program is that it seems to be something that people respond to, and we can hope that maybe it's not just those of us who are environmentalists that respond to it, but maybe other people kind of have a place in their heart also for dark skies, and we'll have a feeling for it also, and that it's something that we can do at the local level or at the state level. So okay, as people are still putting ideas in the chat, we will be sending out this was recorded, so we will send it out. If you want us to send you a copy of this, if you want me to send you a copy, then it would be good to put your email into the chat. But we will be sending it out also through the Rockland Audubon and through the Rockland Astronomy, I assume. Any other last comments, Christine or Sarah and Joe? Did you want to close out, or Sherwood or Steve or Mark?
No, thanks so much, Peggy and Mark. Yeah, I think this is like one of the least talked about types of pollutions is the light pollution. So it's very great that we covered it tonight.
Mhm.
Thanks so much for the opportunity. I love that. I've in 2019 is when I started to get involved, and just I'm still passionate about it. Like you said, Peggy, it is a marathon. And you can't do so much, you burn out. For all of us in the areas that we're involved in, you go too hard and you burn out, and that's not good. So
Yes,
Right.
yes, that's true. But when you do win a victory, and you can win victories on the state and local level, when you do win, it is the most empowering experience. It's really amazing. Mark, we can talk about one of the things that where we had a victory. It's just it's incredible. It's a wonderful feeling. So there's something a little addictive about it. It keeps you going. So we can do it. So Joe and Sarah, did you want to
Well,
have any
thank
closing
you
comments?
for getting us all together.
Okay,
I find this very informative. Mark, thank you.
okay,
you-
okay. And
Joe,
Steve,
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Steve, did you want to say anything else? Or Sherwood? No, just
Oh,
okay.
yeah, it's Ms. Sorry. Yeah, just well, thanks for putting this together, and I'm glad to be here.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, everybody. All of us have a good evening.
Good
Hope to
night,
see you again
everyone.
soon. Okay,
Bye.
bye.
Thanks, Peggy. Good night.
Okay, great. Mark, I think it was a hit.
Thanks so
I-
much, Peggy.
Yeah, I'll talk to you. I'll give you a call tomorrow. But it was a really good talk, and
Okay.
I think it's clear there's really strong interest.
Yeah, yeah. Joe and Sarah, they really helped Dark Sky, that with NEAF, having a place at NEAF was we were so grateful for that. And
Well, now I have to say that, having watched the presentation and having thought about it now for the last month, and we were actually supposed to go on vacation to someplace where you could see the Milky Way with the naked eye, and that was one of the reasons we'd been there before that I wanted to go there. And that didn't happen. But it just it really has just made me think about it a lot more, and I think I told you that I just finished reading the Odyssey, and so it's
Yes.
making me feel kind of more of a sense of connection, that loss that we're experiencing
Yeah.
of this whole, I don't know what to call it, aspect, this whole side of that we of ourselves that we don't experience, just like we don't see the sky. It's there. It's the same
I don't.
with
Yeah.
that sense of ourselves that
Yeah.
it's there, but we don't experience it because of the loss of the dark sky. Now I'm talking about the spiritual side of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's I didn't like this year was the year that it was like all of a sudden it's like I love the technical. I love technical stuff, but I just it's beautiful, and just with the telescope or without the telescope, it's just beautiful, and there's something that it
Mhm.
does in me when I just enjoy it, and how that affects our character and our mental state, our perspective, uh, is just amazing.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I'm still trying to, understand that, you
Mhm.
know, and grasp how much it means. But I think the character, what it means to be human,
Mhm.
the night sky is part of that, and
Mhm.
without it, we're not as human as we could were or could be.
Mhm.
And
No, I think it's true because it's part of our sense of ourselves in the universe,
yes,
I think that's the part, it's like feeling our smallness, how small we are, feeling how big the universe is, feeling the sense of awe. That's the part that's missing for many people. There's kind of nature deprivation, it's
Yeah.
just, it just is, it's a real loss. And I find myself, maybe I said this to you, I don't know if everybody else is interested in this, but that I think there's increasingly that we're living in a society that has become positively nature averse. And I think there was something that some comment somebody put into the chat this evening that was making me think about the lighting, how we're kind of lighting up everything, these, not we, not, I'm, despite the fact that I have a somewhat bright light behind me. We have no outdoor lights at night at all, and we only light the room that we're in. Maybe like one room in the middle that's lit, but we as a society, we are part of that nature aversity, being averse to nature, wanting to avoid nature. The nature avoidance, let's put it that way, is maybe one of the reasons for that light. It's not just about safety, it's about, just like my house is lit up brightly and everything like that, I want the outdoors to be, I want to make sure everything is sanitary, that I'm going to kill any bugs that might be in the soil, that I'll have, the chemical companies come and douse my lawn so there's no bugs, no worms, no snakes. In the same way, the lighting is part of that too, I think.
Yeah.
You know,
So
everybody,
I've-
people who stayed on, did you stay on for a reason? Is there any questions, comments, anything? I do see anybody who wants to put their email in the chat. I definitely will email you afterwards. Once I get the recording. So, okay, why don't we stop here and say goodnight? But thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mark, of course, so much for attending and for all your work. Okay, great. Talk to you soon.
Okay, good night.
Good night.